Hi, welcome to the channel again. Something pretty different now for the video. I'm not sure when these videos will go out, but I've decided to take on the project of building an M54B30, a 3-litre BMW straight six. It's for a project that I'm going to be doing next after the Daytona is finished. So yeah, I'm just going to walk you through. Never done an engine before, never really built anything as complicated as this at all. So I've watched a lot of videos and I just thought I'd have a go at it. I've picked up an old engine that was out of a scrapped car. I stripped it down, had the block off for machining and vapor blasting, everything, which has just come back. The parts I bought have just come in, so I thought, well, might as well start putting together, take a bit of a break from the Daytona and yeah, build this. So I'll move over to the bench and I'll talk through some bits and pieces, and I think we'll just start having a go. It'll be relatively slow time and it won't be as complicated or as in-depth or technical as there's certainly videos out there on it. So yeah, it's not really me educating you as to how you can do it, it's just showing you how I'm doing it, and I'm sure it's not going to be 100% at all. So feel free to comment, but end of the day, by the time you've seen these videos and your comments are on there, I've already done it. So cool, let's crack on, build an engine. Right, so first thing I'm going to do is pistons. So I'm going to put the new rings, which I've ordered, onto the pistons. They're all in the labelled bag, so which one they came from, so they go back in the same place. But notoriously, well, according to the research that I didn't know, the lower rings, the oil scouring rings, which is a two-piece design in the originals, were a bit poor and allowed oil to pass a bit. So there's better designs out there, and other BMW engines of the same time had better rings. So I found online someone that's providing kits, so I've got full kits, which are the upgraded oil scouring ring with the original two top rings. So they're 84mm cylinders, 84mm pistons. Right, so one thing I've just realised I hadn't done, and I'm going to just do a quick bit about it in here, is cleaning around the ring grooves. So what I've actually got was, when I took piston rings off, I've broken the top and the A and B, or the top and the middle ring, the ones that aren't oil scouring rings, and just break two pieces out of them. So these, obviously perfectly sized for cleaning inside the groove that goes all the way around. Just because there's a bit of black and a bit of stuff in there. So obviously when you put new rings on, I've already given everything else a nice clean up. But obviously with the degreasing bath, I didn't get in and take any solids out in here. Even the bristles of the brush I used would not have been firm enough. So yeah, break a piece of ring, run it round just lightly in there. It should just run around quite easily. And yeah, it takes out some bits. So what I do is I'll just run around each one before I do it, first and second rings. I'll probably just use, because the bottom oil scouring ring is quite large, I'll just use one of these ones and just run it around. Oh yeah, there's loads of bits in there. I might just get a little stiff brush just to take any crap out of the grooves. So yeah, just a little bit before I carry on. Okay, so I've just cleaned this piston out and I've just put the oil ring in place. So it's a 3-piece oil ring. I didn't show you because I just got carried away and did it. But I'm about to put in the second piston ring. So basically you work your way from the bottom up to the top. You're not starting from the top and working over the rings. So, and the packets are quite clearly labelled. This is B. So I've just done, so you see it's 2 flat rings and 1 wavy sort of spring ring that goes between them. So that's the lower ones. That's the oil scouring rings that are in. You can't really see them, but they're there. And now I've got ring B and then ring C, which is the top one, is here, poking out the packet. Before I've put these on, I've gone over to the cylinder that is for, because this bag's labelled, this is number 5, and I've put the rings inside the cylinder, pushed them down with an empty piston, and I've gapped them. And the BMW gap, I'll read it off the internet here, is top, second and oil ring is given between 0.2 and 0.4 millimeters. These were, I can't remember the exact numbers, but these are all within, and the oil ring is 0.2 to 0.45 millimeters. So yeah, these have been gapped. That's something I hadn't mentioned earlier. Now I'll do each one as I go down each piston. And also another thing, on the piston ring, it does actually say top. I mean, there's no way that that's going to focus, but on top of my fingernail there, that actually says top. So you know the orientation of how the ring goes, because there is a slight beveled edge around it, and that goes for both B and C ring, so middle and top, this orientation. So yeah, I will. So the top is up there, which means I will put it in the pliers, the top down. So that is top facing up, in the pliers. I won't open it bigger than it needs to go. Around the piston, I'll line the back up with the gap and let it go. And that, there you go, that's in. They're nice and loose as they go on to begin with, but yeah, that one's on. And then yeah, I should do ring C. That's all 6 pistons. They're all labelled which one they come from. Now I'm going to change the bearings. We've got fresh bearings. Yeah, and just work my way through doing those, and then we'll move over to the engine and do the main crank bearings. Right, so I've got King bearings with the kits of bits and pieces that I bought. So this is literally what they come in, very unassuming, very uninspiring, but it's all you need. So I'll crack these open, and you've got the very obvious little telltales as to how they fit. Each one's the same. Just orientate around. Oh, so they fit in the space. So you can see. Look at that one here. See in here, they just put a little pick in there. Just flip the bearing out. Just put the new one back in. So yeah, we'll crack on with that. There's no reason to point out exactly how to do it. We'll just carry on. Right, that's all 6 pistons with the bearings replaced. I just used a little bit of the old assembly lube just on the back of them after I cleaned it, just to hold them in place whilst pushing them in. And then now I'm going to go over to the engine and we'll do the main bearings. Okay, so here's the block on my stand. First thing I put in a minute ago was the oil spray nozzles, which you should be able to see down in there. Had them all out, cleaned them up. Obviously they're out because the block's been vapor blasted and loads of water's been passed through the oil channels and the water cooling channels to clear out all the glass beads. So yeah, that's all been cleaned, dried, put back in with some blue Loctite on each of the bolts. I tested each of the little, because I've got a one-way ball valve in the oil sprayers. So I put an air pressure gun on one end to blow it through to make sure there's nothing in there, no bits of old oil or any crap, and they all ran, they all worked. So yeah, that's them back in there. So a set of bearings on the side here. So you've got your 2 different ones which go in here, and then the rest of them are all the same. So basically same principle as a minute ago. Everything's cleaned and tidied. I'll put a little bit of assembly lube on the back just because I do, and then yeah, put them in. Okay, so with the bearings here, you'll notice that when you open the pack, half have got an oil channel in them and half don't. So the oil channel goes in the block side because you've already got the oil holes and the oil channels there. They match up. That's basically them, and then these will go on the carriers on the top of the crank. Goes in, which we'll do in a bit. So yeah, give these another wipe just to double check and put them in. Just find the groove that sticks out on the bearing, line it up with the little groove in the block, hold it down, push it down nice and firmly, push the edge. There you go. So that now turns the oil channel with one hole in the actual block into position where it comes out down both the holes in the oil channel there. So I shall keep going. Next one, a little bit of assembly lube I put on the back and line it up, push it down. Yep, 2 more to go. Okay, now we've got the slightly different, bigger one. I don't know the name of this, I'll openly say I'm not sure what it is. I'll put a bit of assembly on the back. Okay, that's them in. Okay, so I'm getting close to now putting in the crank. So what I'm going to do first is I've got a bit of solvent brake and clutch cleaner, just a solvent cleaner. I'm going to clean all the journals out, give a nice wipe over, a bit of cloth, which there's nothing on it because this has been sitting. I sprayed it with oil and it came out, but it's been sitting for a while now. Just give it a Also a good thing to do is just to look down, or if you've got small pipe cleaners, the cross-drilled oil passages you see in all the lobes. You've got holes that are cross-drilled down through the next one. And I've just done that. I've actually had a look before I brought it over here. But I don't have pipe cleaner, so I just looked down through and make sure I had a really nice clear line of sight, so there's no crud or anything in there. Otherwise I'd have had to poke it out with something imaginative. Okay, so that was a nice wipe off all those. I mean, it's already clean anyway, but it's just a good practice to clean it a bit more. All right, let's turn around and get this ready to put in. Okay, so take the crank, lift the crank, and see if we can offer it up into the block. Check that it turns. Okay. Rotates nice and free. I know you've got a rubbish view from there. Okay, sorry about the view from that side, pretty poor. So lifted the crank in. I actually put my fingers under the this. I don't even know what the wheels at the back's called, like the toothed wheel, or the gradiated wheel at the back, to hold it, get it in. The rear main oil seal was in place, but she's not actually located on the lugs properly. It's just on, because otherwise you can't get it on when it's in there. So I just put it gently on the lugs, and then as I turn it, she stays still. It spins nice and free. So a bit of the assembly lube is coming off onto the journals. Yeah, cool. Okay, so now I'll get the bearing capped, put the other half of the bearing in them, put them down into place. I'm not sure if you can see this, but when I took mine to bits, I actually laid on a big piece of cardboard and I drew wrote front and back or rear on the cardboard, and 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So I actually numbered them, so when I look at the engine now, I go, right, that's the rear of the engine, that's the front. Rear, number 1 is the first one. Also double check, because the rear one doesn't have any of the supports in, and it's just the one that goes, oh, you can't really see, it goes just here. So what I'll do, I'll just change the bearing out. Everything else has been cleaned up, so give it a nice wipe over again, and I'll just put them roughly in position. So you see there, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the bearing caps on. These little supports are just on them still, so I'll put them all back in place. To the next one, a little bit of assembly lube on there, just put it in. Quite messy stuff. A bit of a wipe round, cover the surface of the bearing. There you go. Now the little tangs, little divots in the bearing, like the little bits that stick out, have to line up where they are here, so that's this way around. Do a couple of turns on the bolts, make sure they're okay. The cap go down. Right, okay, so you'll see that all the bearing caps are in place now. What I should have mentioned just a second ago was these strengthening plates that go on these four. It's 3 to 6 bearing cap, not 7 and not 1 and 2. They go on, they should have, the one bolt we've got for them at the moment should be in the front edge of it. So you should just put it in by finger tight so that it keeps it lined up. When you go and torque these, so the torque was 20 Newton meters on each of them, all the way down, and then go and do 70. So then they're set, and the torque on these is 22 Newton meters. So yeah, this is now, and I've pushed the oil plate into position, it's on its lugs now. So you can spin it by hand. I use a rag because I've got the sprocket on and it's really uncomfortable to grip, and yeah, it turns. It's just uncomfortable to grab hold of it and spin it. So nothing majorly wrong that I can tell so far. Obviously I'm not an expert, so by the time you watch this, it will be too late. Right, okay, so next step is to put the pistons in. I've got with me, if you're down there, number 3 piston, just because it was the first one on the bench. Bottom half of it, the bolts are in there, the ring compressor's here, a little Allen key thingy that goes in it. I've got some engine oil, a clean little brush. I've got my construction assembly lube as well, and I've got a little wooden handled hammer in case I have to bop it down in there. So what I'm going to do there, so front of the engine, 6, this is the way I've numbered mine, so it's 6, 5, 4, 3, so this is the one we're going to put it in. There is a little arrow on top. We want the arrow pointing towards the Vanos unit, which is the front of the engine, so it will go in this orientation. So I'm aware of that then. I am just going to check the rings. So I see the top ring, the ring gap is on this side, The second ring down is basically opposite. It's just under 180 degrees, it's here to here. The oil scouring ring, top one is there, middle one is there where the green mark is, and the lower one is there. I'm happy with those, so there's nothing opposing. I'm going to move the top one, I think, just to there, and the bottom one I'm going to move round so I don't have any in line as it goes down. 3. Cool, right, happy with that. So I'm going to give the inside of my ring compressor just a light coating of oil. It's new as well, so it hasn't actually been used before, so it's all clean. Just a little bit, so it's just a sheen in there. So I'm going to put the piston, I should make it, this is a ratchet one, so make it bigger. There we go, that's bigger than it needs to be. Put it in. Two-handed job. I'll make it even bigger. Wow, that's massive now. Piston inside. Kind of awkwardly grip it with one hand, and I'll just ratchet it down. So it's pretty close. And I can maneuver it in there. So I'm going to leave a bit of the skirt out at the bottom, the piston, just so I can seat it in there. I'm going to make it tighter. There you go, it's nice and tight. That is now on there. You've got the arrow pointing towards me. This down, just down there, pointing that way. So that's the front of the engine. We've got 6543 because I'm putting it in where it came out from, and that's that one. Almost forgot. So underneath, this is where I want some assembly lube because these are fresh bearings, and this is going to be on the crank. So I'll dollop of that around there. This engine's not going to be run anytime soon. Give it a quick smear around. That's loads. More than I needed then, but hey ho, always run out. Okay, arrow this way, arrow that way, going in 6543. Okay, that's the piston skirt lined up. I'll just push it with fingers. There we go, slides down quite easily. That's simple as that. That's dropped out nice and easily. And I'll just go underneath and I'll just make sure that the bottom of the conrod is lining up. There we go. So I've pushed the piston down with this hand while I was lining up the bottom of the conrod onto the crank. That's nice and there. So what I'll probably do is I'll do 2 at a time, turn it onto its side, put the caps on, and I'll talk about that as I do that. So I'll just get another one in and I'll come back to you for the caps. Okay, so I've got 3 and 4 in. What I forgot to mention actually is the way I orientated the crank before I did it. So they're almost, 3 and 4 almost in very similar places. So I had it so the crank is furthest away from the hole, so they go in nice and deep. So when I turn it over now, the caps go on nice and high. So what I'll do is I'll just pull it away from there a bit. If I turn it round, they're quite tight in there, so I'm not worried about them sliding out, but if I leave it about there, you should be able to see, I'll come a little bit closer, be able to see the top. See 3 and 4 are basically in the same place. A little bit closer. There you go, so in the same kind of place. And also on the sides of the conrods, there are numbers. So even if you did mix up the caps, which I haven't, you match the numbers. See there, it says 354, and the other one is a different number, which is 322. It's not going to focus. 322, I think you can see it just there. So yeah, that gives you something to compare it to. If you did go, oh no, which ones I put in now? So yeah, I'm going to put the caps on, put some assembly lube underneath on the new bearings, pop them in the right way round, number, orientates with number. This is that one in fact. And I'll just put them in, sort of finger tight, one all down, get all 6 done before I torque them. So let's do this one first then. A bit of assembly lube. No, it's real sticky. Goes everywhere. Clean hands, just rub it around a little bit. Okay, so we have the number on this side. It's 354, just double check. 354 on that one. Line up, put my finger underneath. So the cap goes in nice and even and smooth. So I'll just pop the bolts, give them a quick wipe. I've got some oil on them from just sitting on the side. I sprayed everything down when I was leaving it for a while. Right. Just wind them down as far as I go with the fingers. Slippery gloves. Okay, that's one on, obviously not torqued. So I'll do the second one and I'll flip it back over and I'll do the rest of the pistons. I won't show this because it's going to be relatively monotonous and I'm not going to do a freeze frame. So cool, I'll come back to you in a second when they're all in. Right, okay, now the engine is ready for the next step. So we've got all the pistons in, the caps are on, everything's torqued down. So the oil baffle plate is what I'm going to do next. And this has 4 bolts on either side, which are the second bolts from these supports that we put in there. We put only the forward bolts on them. So as you see, when this goes over, there you go, lines up with the rearmost bolt in each of the supports. And there's a small 10mm bolt that goes in the back. So these are 13mm bolts. I should have 8 of them. So I'll put them all in sort of finger tight. Again, these are 22 Newton meters torque setting. So yeah, so there'll be 8 of those. The small 10mm, which is this little one, just goes in right at the back here. Okay, you're not going to watch me put all those in because it's boring. So I'll put them in by finger, just run them down with the gun without any pressure on them, and then I'll do the torque setting. Then after that, or at the same time, is the oil pump. So we line this up. There's 2 little locating pins at the front. That should be, there you go, lines up. And the bolts for this, there are 4. There are 3 long ones, which go on there, and then the other front one's longer, and the short one goes in the back bit here. You can see there's a recessed patch where it would go. So again, I'll finger tight those down, 22 Newton meters. Okay, the little bolt that's left in the back of the oil pump is where the oil pickup pipe goes through. I left it in there when I took it off, so I knew where it was. So I'll take that out. I have replaced the O-ring, important, fresh O-ring, so you don't get any airlocks or air drawn in past it. And the 2 bolts that will attach it to the baffle plate are still in the pipe, but I won't do that just yet. I'll get these all wound down, torqued up, same as this, and then we'll go on to that in a minute. Okay, right, so oil pickup pipe, fresh O-ring, push it in here, push it, clips in. These 2 line up the baffle plate. So there's 10mm for here. Line it up. Don't drop it into the engine. I shall try my best. Okay, do it up in a minute, and then these 2 through the baffle plate. There's captive nuts welded on to this oil pickup pipe. Then when these are wound down, I think these are a 10mm as well. It's 10 Newton meters torque setting on these 3. Right, so next we've got the sprocket for the chain for the oil pump. The sprocket and the chain, and this little sprocket here. So this goes on, looks like it can go either way around, but if you look at it, there's BMW writing on it. That goes on such a way as when you look at the engine from the front, the writing is upside down. Okay, that's what I've been told online, and I don't know if it makes a difference, but that's what I was told it does. So that goes on that way, and I've put the chain around the sprocket. Goes on the inner one, and there is a chance that I may have to turn the pump a little bit, which I've got a screwdriver here to do as I try and line it up. It's pretty tight. I'll slide that in as we go. There we go, just a slight movement with the screwdriver, and that is now on. Perfect. And then next we need to put the retaining nut on this pump sprocket. But I've actually read quite a bit online and been told that that has a habit, or not a habit, but that can back itself off. And obviously we don't want that to happen. So I was in the States recently. I managed to pick up a drilled nut. So you put it on as usual, and then you can thread the wire through the drilled hole. Where is it? So it doesn't interfere with the thread. It just means that once you put it on, you can wire it through and pass the wire through a couple of the holes in the actual sprocket there, so it can't back itself off. So I think I tight that on at the moment. I'll have to check it's a backwards thread as well. So. Right, so if you see here, I've just put the wire through the nut, put it onto in the chuck of my drill, and just twisted it slowly, so the wire's twisted up. And now what I'll do is I'll manipulate the wire round through one hole around the back and through here, and then we'll twist it again. It's gonna be fiddly, but that just means that nut can't move. No matter how much it wanted to, it can't go anywhere. You know, if it did get back off, it would back off a few degrees until the wire went tight. So yeah, that's how that's supposed to work as far as I can tell. And yeah, with the added not quite sureness of the torque setting on the nut, I'm happy that I've got the drilled one. So anyway, I'll carry on with that. That nut now can't move anywhere. So I'm going to put the crank bolt back in. I'm going to turn the engine over. I'll just turn the crank over to make sure that as that spins round, it doesn't touch or bind anywhere. And if it does, I'll just adjust it with my trusty pliers, just to make sure that the bend is in the right place and it doesn't interfere. Because what I don't want doing is touching the oil pump housing, you know, however many times a minute it's going to when it's going for it. So we turn the engine over. Well, it touched one of the little support vanes in the back there. So, okay, I'm just going to make that tighter with the pliers, and then I'll come back and see. Actually, I'll just do it now. Spin it again. Okay. Oh, that's well clear. Okay. Brilliant. Oil pump nut wire done. So span the engine back up the right way, which is nice to see. So I'm going to leave the bottom end for a while. So next on these pins, which we put in earlier, is the chain guides. So I took these off. I was very careful, didn't break them. None of the clips came apart. So that's a good thing for me. So I'm going to put them back on. So you've got the big pin by itself over here on the left hand side to me. So that's the long one that goes in. When you look at it, the clip is in one side only, and you know which way around it goes. So that goes on there gently. So the clip's relocated. And then this one looks like it can go any way. There's a short end, which is this end, and the short end goes down. You can tell it's the same way that the clips line up. Gently push that on. Okay, remove the clips with my fingers slightly so they don't take too much pressure, because I don't want to break this now. Okay, that's the clips in place, that's that on, and this one, oh, couldn't actually see much of that, that's there. So yeah, I've got the timing chain in the bag on my workbench next to me, so I'll just get that out and lean it through. I don't want to put too much pressure on these, so I'm just going to be careful to get that ready to go. Right, so I was just about to put the timing chain on, and then I realised it's actually the timing cover that goes on next with the gaskets and everything on here. So I didn't get that cleaned, that vapor blasted, when I had the engine and sump. When I had them done. I also had a diff casing done. But yeah, so I didn't send it off when I had the engine done. So I need to get it done. I'm actually going to get hold of a good deal on a vapor blaster machine, so I can do it myself, and then moving forward in my projects I'll be able to do it. So the first time you've heard it now is I'm going to get a vapor blaster. But I've just got the timing cover, so this I'll just offer it up with the little dowel pins that line up to where it's supposed to go. I don't want to get too much shit on the engine because it's clean, but if I turn, you can see the difference. I'll hold it there. In what this looked like when it came in, and now what it looks like. So yeah, when I get my vapor blaster, it should be next week. That is the difference that I should be able to get on all of my work pieces. Saying that, I'll wait and see what it comes up like, but yeah, I'm certainly not going to put the chain on and then the gaskets and this in place because I want to clean it. So I'll take that back off, and this now will just go and stay where it is. I'll push it out the way until I get the machine in, get these parts cleaned, and push the new front seal in. So yeah, this is going to pause for a minute. I'll probably end this video here. I don't think it's going to be too inspirational. I don't even know how long it will be, but there you go. Yeah, thanks for watching. You probably won't learn anything from this, but I'm just filming what I'm doing. Yeah, enjoy, and come back for the second part, which should be relatively soon if all goes according to plan. All right, thanks again. See ya.